the state budget is a huge issue to both of you, to every voter in Delaware, and you have said it is the spending stupid.
Absolutely.
You had though been saying that long before this election.
Yes.
You have been saying that in the state legislature.
Yes.
If you could not be successful pushing those issues forward, your issues of conservative fiscal responsibility, when you had a vote, why would you be successful in an arena of state treasurer where you don't have a vote?
Well, I think because in the General Assembly, you're one of 62 voices. And in the state treasurer, you're the only voice. You have a statewide elected mandate. And I'm really excited about that opportunity, right? I mean, quite frankly, that's the reason I'm doing this, to say, hey, somebody's got to try to step up and get a hold of this situation. And I think as a statewide elected official with that statewide mandate, I quite frankly don't think they can ignore me. When we start talking about the wastes and the nonsense that goes on in the General Assembly and quite frankly in the administrative side of government too, when the state treasurer stands up and says, hey, look at this is wrong, you know, before I sign this check, we're going to take a look at this. I think that's very powerful stuff, and I think it's like I said, one of 62 voices versus one statewide mandated voice. I think the treasurer can really make a difference.
You know, Mr. Bonini, we hear this argument. The bottom line is, I think it's a serious concern, rightly or wrongly, the fact that you've been in the legislature for 16 years, you were assigned to committees that were assigned to reducing the size of government, and obviously your attendance record showed that you weren't there a significant number of times, even though you received a paycheck. So I think, and then to top it all off, you want to become the treasurer and get a promotion and increase your salary, six-figure salary, and then, but you don't have any financial background. You want to question spending. So I think what we're saying is that the lawmakers in the General Assembly just disagree with your analysis. They don't understand why is this person who doesn't have a financial background, doesn't have an economics background, doesn't really have a business background, yet wants to question the spending. It's fine to question spending. That's okay. But I think the treasurer has to be the person that provides solutions based upon key financial and economic principles. That's what we need. So I don't criticize you for criticizing state spending. We have a problem. There's no question about it. But the question is, how do we solve the problem? And do you have the financial tools, the background, the resources to do it? Yes. And that's what your General Assembly basically
is saying. The answer is yes.
No elaboration.
No
Absolutely, yes. I have, you know, I mean, I think we'd love to sit down and talk to you about the state
But why
budget,
weren't you at the
spending.
Meetings, I guess? Is my question is that, you know...
okay,
this is
real
important.
quickly.
It's important.
I just think, okay.
That's fine. That's fine.
35,000 Delawareans are unemployed. We're the third most expensive state in the government per person. And Chip's big issue is counting my attendance record at a committee.
That's not my big issue. That's a question. It's just a question. That's not my big issue, so don't put words in my mouth.
But the statement was out on the table, and I think he needs to
I think it's fair
have
for
the chance to respond to attendance questions.
First of all, the bottom line is if you ask anyone in the General Assembly, whether I'm an active and productive participant in all the committees I'm in, Republican, Democrat, and you know everybody will tell you that I absolutely am. And as a senator, I am drawn in an unbelievable number of different places. There are conflicts all the time. And the idea that, you know, you take my attendance record at a committee from 7 years ago, and that's your point when we're talking about the third most expensive state government in the country, and like as Chip has said, we have 35,000 employees. I mean, it's, for goodness sakes, this is more serious than that.
Let's put that to bed and
it's
we'll
much more
move on.
Serious than that.
I agree.
I want to move to the next issue because your campaign platform, you call it the framework, you call for an early warning system for state financial issues. That really is the responsibility of DFAC. They did sound the alarm 24 months prior to the bottoming out of the state's economy. So how is this a solution and not duplication?
It's an excellent question. DFAC sounded the alarm to who, Nancy? The General Assembly. DFAC
to the media as well.
The DFAC basically does not issue ongoing analysis to businesses to make key decisions. DFAC measures revenue into the state. They look at factors saying, we are contracting in the housing market, we are contracting here, we're contracting there. Businesses need different types of economic data. They need to know what's going on in the capital markets, what's going on with credit, how are banks lending to Delaware businesses. That's not the data that DFAC tracks. So people are saying DFAC, which is a great advisory council for the General Assembly in making spending decisions. That's fine. However, the bottom line is businesses need business data. And if you look at other Treasury departments, I spoke to the Treasurer of Maryland, the former Treasurer of Mississippi, the Treasurer of Ohio, the Treasurer of Washington State. There are different types of economic data that businesses need to make key decisions. And I'm a small business owner. We know providing me with revenue that the state revenue is down is not relevant data for me. It's letting me know that the state coffers are declining and our economy is contracting, but I need key business data to make critical decisions.
Well, and in your response to that, also address the fact that you've called for transparency and tracking every dollar, which is really a duplication of the role of the auditor, correct?
No, it is clearly not a duplication of the role of the auditor. The auditor gets involved when there's malfeasance and the money has been misspent. First of all, I would like to say that it's not just DFAC. Every single bank that does business with the State Treasurer's Office offers global and international and Delaware-specific analysis. And I think, and forgive me, Chip, I don't mean to be, but the idea that Chip with his undergraduate degree in economics is going to make better economic development decisions than Jack Markell and Alan Levin is, no, I mean, I think that's a
Well, you have no financial background, Colin, so how do you think you're going to make your decisions?
Well, let's let him answer.
But my point is, I don't want to make those decisions, Chip. I don't think the Treasurer is any business doing economic development. I think the Treasurer is to be the person who's trying to hold the state expenditures accountable, and as Chip, I think, very well summarized, will oversee the investments, those kind of things. I mean, I think this is not Washington. This is not the Secretary of the State, Secretary of Treasury. This is the State Treasurer's Office, and our problem in Delaware is that the money is in the government and it's not in the private sector, and someone has to stand up and willing to say that, and I think the Treasurer can be that person.
Let's move. You want to have one quick response? Quickly,
listen,
please.
You know, Mr. Bonini, you constantly go back to this point that I lack the sufficient background to do the things I'm doing. Listen, Mr. Bonini, I have an economics degree from Penn, a law degree, a business degree from Georgetown, and another degree from Harvard. Now, listen, I'm not saying that I'm slighting your background in political science, your undergraduate, but I'm saying that this is a Treasurer's office. So before you impugn my credentials to the office, I think you have to understand that, listen, I think my qualifications as a business owner speak for themselves. And my qualifications have done this.
Let's let him respond very quickly, please.
When I was younger, I used to tell people about all the things I did in college. I just leave it at that.
Okay. We'll move on very quickly. Talk about the issue of jobs. You both have called for initiatives to bring jobs into the state of Delaware. To the observer, it sounds like an indictment against the progress that has not been made by Alan Levin within the Jack Markell administration. Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think so at all. In fact, I think Jack and Alan have, I disagree with the governor a lot. I just want to let you know that. And Jack knows that as well. But I think Jack and Alan have actually done quite a bang-up job. I mean, saving Valero, and I'm concerned about Fisker. I hope that works. I have some concerns about the economics of that. But I think they've actually done a pretty fair job. But the bottom line is, in our government, and Jack tried to address this, and unfortunately my colleagues, I think, didn't help him very much. The bottom line is, we have a state government that has grown, it's doubled in 12 years. And those resources are not in our private sector. And I think Chip and I both want to get resources into the private sector.
Right.
And those resources are not there. And I think that Jack and Alan have done that. But the bottom line is, jobs don't come from government. Okay? Government can fund jobs. Government doesn't create jobs.
But did the state not put too many eggs in one basket with the financial industry? Yep. Is that not how we are where we are? So was it not the responsibility of a series of Democratic governors prior to now and Democratic administrators to change that?
You know, Nancy, it's a great question, but I'm not about blame. I don't want to go and say who's responsible, because I think the governor and Alan are doing a bang-up job trying to get things back on track. And so whoever is responsible, I'm sure that's for the political consultants to go run negative ads. But right now, I think what we need to do, there is a failing. There's something missing, which is the fact that we don't have resources sufficient for small businesses, which are the engine of economic growth. And that's what the Treasurer's Office has to do. We have to get more engaged in that. So if you look at the big projects that have been coming to Delaware, those are wonderful, but the problem with big projects is it takes 2 or 3 years for those factories and plants to be built. With small businesses, if you put the money in there and you help banks, and the Treasurer's Office works with banks to make sure that money is flowing through small businesses, those jobs will get to the table faster. And I think that's the missing element in our kind of state puzzle.
We've seen some of the differences over the past few moments here, but this is the tightest race right now. So for a voter making a decision
I think
on election day,
pretty decent guys here, actually.
Draw the distinction between you and your opponent, and that's what I'd like you to do. List for me what separates the two of you, and we'll start with you.
Okay, I think the big issue is that Chip sees, and Chip, please correct me if I'm wrong.